Let's be honest. We live in a time where success is often measured by surface-level achievements. A well-paying job, a sculpted body, a nice car, a full social calendar, and yet, deep down, something still feels off. Especially when it comes to connection. Real, genuine connection. So many men, good men, do everything right by society's standards. And still, they feel invisible to the women they want to connect with most. Why? Because they're missing something. Something subtle. Something powerful. Something 99% of men completely overlook. Not because they're careless, but because no one ever taught them what truly matters to a woman. Not just on the outside, but at her core. Let me ask you, have you ever felt like you were saying all the right things, doing all the right moves, but still, she seemed distant, unimpressed? Almost like there was a wall you couldn't see, but could definitely feel? That wall isn't built from your looks. It's not about your income. It's not even about your confidence in the usual sense. That wall exists because you're missing the invisible details. The tiny things that don't scream for attention, but whisper directly to the deepest parts of her mind and heart. You see, true attraction is not just about being seen. It's about being felt. And the irony, the secrets to unlocking that connection aren't grand gestures. They're the small, consistent behaviors that most men ignore. The psychological cues. The quiet displays of self-mastery. The calm in your presence. The emotional discipline that comes from inner strength, not ego. This video isn't about tricks. It's not about manipulation. And it's definitely not about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about becoming the man who no longer needs to chase, because who he is, quietly, firmly, authentically, draws people toward him. Because here's the truth, most men never hear. Women don't crave perfection, they crave presence. They crave depth. They crave a man who sees them clearly, because he sees himself clearly. And that level of presence, that ability to make someone feel seen, safe, and drawn to you, it starts with mastering the one thing you can control, yourself. That's where Stoic philosophy comes in. The ancient Stoics taught that a man's power doesn't come from how loud he is, how wealthy he becomes, or how many people he impresses. It comes from his ability to govern himself, to stay calm in the chaos, to choose virtue over vanity, to understand others without losing himself. That kind of man. He doesn't force attraction. He becomes attractive, without needing validation. So today, I'm going to share 10 hidden traits. Not the kind you'll find in pop psychology or flashy dating advice, but the kind that real women crave, and few men ever develop. These insights are grounded in psychology, sharpened by experience, and reinforced by Stoic wisdom. And I'll be honest, some of these truths might surprise you. Some might even sting a little. But if you're open, truly open, they'll shift something inside you. You'll begin to see that attraction isn't something you earn from women. It's something you cultivate within. You'll stop trying to perform. You'll stop overthinking every text, every gesture, every moment. Instead, you'll move through the world with a quiet strength that speaks louder than words. You'll become a man whose presence leaves a lasting echo, not because he's trying to impress, but because he understands this simple truth. The rarest man is the one who doesn't seek to be desired, but becomes desirable simply by being rooted in who he is. So if you're ready, not just to understand women better, but to understand yourself on a deeper level, then keep watching. Because what you're about to learn could change everything. Not just in how you connect with women, but in how you carry yourself as a man. Let's begin. Segment 1. Touch before intimacy. The power of present contact. There's a kind of touch that speaks louder than words. It doesn't demand. It doesn't rush. It simply says, I see you. I'm here with you. You're safe with me. And for many women, that kind of presence is more intimate than anything physical could ever be. Most men don't realize this. We're often taught that touch is a means to an end, a step on the way to intimacy, not intimacy itself. But here's the truth. Touch is not a signal. It's a message. And if you want to reach a woman's heart, not just her body, you need to learn how to be fully present with her in the moments before anything begins. I'm not talking about seduction. I'm talking about connection. There's power in the small things. A gentle touch to her shoulder when she's had a rough day. A slow back rub where you're not trying to get somewhere. You're just being there, holding her hand and meaning it. These gestures might seem insignificant. But to a woman who longs to feel emotionally safe, they mean everything. You see, intimacy doesn't start in the bedroom. It starts long before that. In the way you look at her when she speaks. In the way you touch her when you're not expecting anything in return. In the way you show her, through your presence, that you're not just with her. You're there. Fully. Unwaveringly. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Be one, be undivided, be present. Be whole in this moment." And that's exactly what most men miss. We rush. We chase outcomes. We mistake urgency for passion. But women feel everything. They know when your touch is hurried. They sense when your presence is distracted. They recognize when you're in your head instead of in the moment. So if you want her to open up to you, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually, start with something simple. Touch her with care. Touch her without agenda. Be the kind of man who doesn't reach for her body out of hunger, but out of respect. Out of awareness, out of love. Be the kind of man who holds space, not just flesh. Who values the quality of connection over the quantity of interaction. And yes, this requires patience. It requires emotional maturity. It requires slowing down in a world that's always speeding up. But in that slowness, something magical happens. Trust grows. Walls fall. She feels safe. And when a woman feels safe, she opens up in every way. This is what most men miss. They think attraction is about performance, but women crave presence, not performance. They don't need fireworks. They need stillness with meaning. So here's your challenge. Next time you're with someone you care about, don't rush. Don't lean forward with expectation. Lean back with intention. Let your touch be calm, clear, confident. Let it say, I'm not here to take, I'm here to share. That's the kind of touch that lingers in memory. That's the kind of moment she'll tell her best friend about. That's the kind of man who stands out, not because he demands attention, but because he gives it fully. And if you're thinking, but I wasn't raised to be like this, that's okay. The Stoics didn't preach perfection. They practiced discipline. They trained themselves to notice what others ignored, to slow down, to listen deeply, to lead with integrity, not impulse. And you can do the same. So the next time you reach out, make it count. Let your touch be more than physical. Let it be an extension of your grounded soul. Because real intimacy begins before anything physical ever happens. And the men who understand that, they don't just connect. They transform the space between them and the women they love. Segment 2. Flirting with confidence, respect. Let's talk about flirting. Not the kind you see in movies. The exaggerated lines, the over-the-top confidence, the forced charm. I'm talking about the real kind. The kind that makes a woman's heart beat a little faster. Not because you're trying to impress her, but because she feels something real in your presence. You see, true flirting is an art. But it's not about tricks. It's not about trying to win someone over. It's about energy. It's about playfulness. It's about showing someone that you're present and that you're enjoying the moment with them. And most importantly, it's about doing it all with respect. Because here's the truth most men never hear. The most powerful flirting doesn't seek approval. It shares confidence, not arrogance, not manipulation. Just calm, grounded self-assurance. There's a difference between flirting to get something and flirting because you're simply enjoying the human connection. One feels needy. The other feels magnetic. Let's break it down. 1. Eye contact. Not the creepy, don't blink kind. Not the, I'm trying to stare into your soul kind. Just steady, relaxed eye contact that says, I see you, and I'm not afraid to be seen either. It communicates presence. It builds tension, in a good way. It tells her, without a word, that you're comfortable in your own skin. And trust me, that's attractive. 2. Timing. Flirting isn't a script. It's a dance. You don't force it. You don't rush it. You listen, you observe, you respond. You're not trying to control the moment. You're flowing with it. Stoicism teaches us to read reality clearly, to respond to what is, not what we wish was happening. A Stoic flirts not with desperation, but with quiet confidence. He knows his value and doesn't need it to be validated. That's why timing matters. A well-placed comment, a playful glance, a subtle smile when she says something clever. That's flirting done right. 3. Playful teasing. This is where most men get it wrong. They either go too far, mocking or trying to neg her, or they avoid teasing altogether because they're afraid to offend. But done well, teasing is like seasoning. A little goes a long way. It lightens the mood. It breaks tension. It says, I don't take myself too seriously, and you don't have to either. For example, she says she's terrible at parallel parking. You smile and say, good to know. Remind me never to park behind you. It's gentle. It's fun. It's respectful. And that's the key word. Respect. Because without it, flirting becomes pressure. But with it, flirting becomes play. Here's a deeper truth. Women don't just crave chemistry. They crave emotional safety. That means your flirting has to come from a place of security within yourself. You're not trying to prove anything. You're not trying to convince her of your worth. You're just enjoying the moment and inviting her into it. And when she senses that, she relaxes. She lets her guard down. She starts to play back. That's when connection happens. Not through fancy lines, but through authentic presence. Marcus Aurelius once said, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If your thoughts are desperate, insecure, or manipulative, your energy will reflect that. But if your thoughts are calm, grounded, and playful, you'll naturally give off a vibe that draws people in. And women, they pick up on that immediately. So if you're watching this and thinking, I've never been good at flirting, let me tell you something. Flirting isn't about being naturally charming. It's about being present. It's about being aware. And it's about being authentically you, without fear. You don't need to be funny. You don't need to memorize lines. You just need to slow down, observe, and let your confidence show through subtle gestures. A smile, a comment that shows you're actually listening, a moment of playful silence that lets her fill the space. That's all it takes. So the next time you find yourself face to face with someone you're drawn to, don't rush. Don't perform. Don't chase validation. Flirt with respect. Flirt with calm energy. Flirt from a place of knowing who you are and enjoying who she is without needing anything from her. Because at the end of the day, the rarest kind of man is the one who flirts not to impress, but to connect. And that man, he doesn't have to try to be attractive. He is attractive because he's real. Segment 3. Touching her hair. Intimate, if done right. There's something profoundly intimate about the simple act of touching a woman's hair. It's not loud. It's not flashy. But when it's done right, it speaks volumes. You see, the scalp is one of the most sensitive areas of the body. Not just physically, but emotionally. It's the crown, the top of her world. And when a man reaches for her hair, without demand, without expectation, without ego, it can create a kind of closeness that no words can replicate. But here's the catch. It's all about timing. And more importantly, intention. Because done wrong, it feels invasive, mechanical. Like a move pulled from a movie scene. But done right, it feels sacred. This is not about technique. It's about presence. Imagine this. You're sitting on the couch after a long day. The room is quiet. She's relaxed. Maybe her head is resting on your chest. And in that moment, you slowly run your fingers through her hair. No words, no agenda. Just calm energy, just closeness. What she feels in that moment is safety. Emotional safety, the kind that allows her nervous system to soften, the kind that makes her heart say, I can let go here. I don't have to perform. Too many men think that intimacy starts with bold moves, but what women often crave is tenderness, a light touch that says, I'm not here to take anything from you. I'm just here, with you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. And the man who has cultivated that inner calm, that man brings peace wherever he goes, including into her world. That peace is what makes a gentle touch to the hair feel profound. Because it's not just physical contact. It's soul contact. Let me tell you something important. Women remember these moments. Not because they're grand, but because they're real. Because in a world full of noise, pressure, and pretending, moments like that are rare. But again, don't rush it. Don't reach for her hair like you're checking something off a list. Feel the moment. Is she relaxed? Is there trust? Is she leaning in? Then maybe. But if there's tension, distraction, or uncertainty, don't force it. Stoicism teaches us to observe reality clearly, without distortion. To act only when it's right. Not when we're impatient. Not when we're trying to make something happen. So if you want to deepen a woman's trust and attraction, master this skill. Read the room. Feel the moment. Honor the silence. And then, if the time is right, let your fingers brush gently through her hair, like you're holding something precious. Because you are. This isn't about control. It's about care. It's about showing her that in your hands, she's not an object. She's safe. And when she feels that safety, that presence, that stillness wrapped in warmth, she opens. Not just physically, but emotionally. Spiritually. And the best part? You don't have to say a word. The calmest gestures carry the deepest meaning. So the next time you sit with someone you care about, don't reach for more. Reach deeper, not with pressure, but with patience. Because when you touch her hair with intention, you're not just creating intimacy, you're creating memory. And in her heart, that moment will echo long after your hand pulls away. Segment 4. Hand on her back in public, silent leadership. Sometimes, it's the smallest gestures that carry the deepest meaning. A simple hand placed gently on her back, in public, in motion, in a moment of movement, can speak louder than 1,000 words. And no, this isn't about dominance. It's not about control. It's about presence. It's about leadership without ego. And it's about making her feel safe without saying a single thing. You see, when a man lightly places his hand on a woman's back, while crossing the street, entering a crowded room, or simply guiding her through noise, he's not pushing. He's not pulling. He's communicating something deeper. I'm here. I've got you. You don't need to worry. It's a signal. One that says, you're not alone out here. I'm paying attention. And the truth is, women feel that. They may not always say it, but in that brief contact, they feel a quiet strength behind them. Not possessiveness, but presence. The difference? Presence leads. Possession controls. In a world full of loud men trying to dominate the room, the man who leads softly, who guides without forcing, stands out. He's the calm in the storm, the anchor in the chaos, the silent protector who doesn't need attention because his strength speaks for itself. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic emperor, once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." And this is one of those moments. Being a good man isn't about speeches. It's about subtle action, grounded in awareness. So ask yourself, when you walk with her through the world, are you tuned in? Do you notice when she's uncomfortable in a crowd? Do you instinctively shift your position to create space for her? Do you gently guide her, not because she's incapable, but because you want to lead with intention? This is what we call silent leadership. Not the kind that demands submission, but the kind that earns trust. Because let's face it, women don't want to be controlled. They want to feel secure. They want to know the man beside them is aware, alert, and present. That he leads, not because he's superior, but because he cares enough to be responsible. That light touch on her back, that stoic leadership in motion. Calm, clear, nonverbal. Powerful. You don't have to say, "Don't worry, I'm here." She feels it. You don't have to announce, "I'm leading now." She sees it. And the most beautiful part? She feels free, not confined. She feels supported, not suppressed. Because you're not trying to impress her, you're protecting the moment. Let me be clear. This gesture should never be mechanical. It's not something you use. It's something you become aware of. Something that flows naturally from presence. When you're truly paying attention, you'll see the moment arise. You'll sense the subtle tension in a crowd, and your hand will gently land behind her, not as a command, but as a quiet message. I've got you. That is what women crave, even if they never say it. Not just the touch, but the intention behind it. And guess what? The men who understand this rarely have to compete for attention. Their presence creates a sense of emotional gravity. People lean in, not because they're loud, but because they're rooted. So here's the invitation. Be the kind of man whose actions whisper, "You are safe with me," without ever having to speak it. Because in that one small gesture, in that quiet placement of your hand in the middle of the noise, you become more than just a partner. You become a protector, a leader, a man who moves through the world with intention, and that is unforgettable. Segment 5. Be her protector. Emotional safety over solutions. Let me tell you a truth. Many men never learn until it's too late. She doesn't want to be fixed. She wants to be felt. When a woman is overwhelmed, emotional, or in pain, most men instinctively shift into solution mode. We want to fix the problem. Offer advice, lay out a plan, solve it, and move on. Because that's how we're wired, right? But for her, that kind of reaction often feels like distance, not support. It says, "I don't want to feel this with you. I just want it to stop." And while that's not what you mean, that's how it lands. What she truly craves in those moments is your presence, not your problem solving, not your quick fixes, not your logical plan, just your calm, grounded energy, your unshaken gaze that tells her, "I see you. I'm here." You're not alone in this storm. You see, protection isn't always physical. In fact, most of the time, the real protection she longs for is emotional. It's being her safe place, especially when the world doesn't feel safe. She wants to know that when things fall apart, you won't. That you can hold space, not just her body, but her emotions. That you can remain still in her chaos and not flinch. This kind of presence is rare and powerful. It's what separates boys from men, because let's face it, it's easy to be steady when life is smooth, but when she's hurting, when emotions are high, tempers flare, or tears flow, that's when your inner discipline gets tested. And that's where Stoicism offers a powerful reminder. Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. Epictetus. Don't just say you're strong. Be still. Be grounded. Be unmovable, not in pride, but in peace. Because in those moments, she's not asking for a hero, she's asking for a harbor. A space where she can let go, without being judged, without being hurried, without feeling like a burden. And here's the beautiful irony. When you stop trying to fix her, you become the very thing that helps her heal. Because it's not about your answers. It's about your energy. Think about this. When was the last time someone truly listened to you, without trying to interrupt, improve, or outsmart you? It felt rare, didn't it? That's what she needs too. And when you give that to her, when you choose to protect with presence, something powerful happens. She softens. She opens. She begins to trust you, not just as a partner, but as a place of peace. And that kind of trust, it's magnetic, it's unforgettable. It's the kind that builds bonds stronger than passion alone ever could. So next time she's upset, pause, breathe. Ground yourself, then ask gently, do you want support, or do you just need me to listen? More often than not, she'll say, just listen. So do that. Not passively. Not with one eye on your phone, but with full presence. Because in a world full of noise, a man who listens without needing to speak feels like shelter. And that, my friend, is the kind of protector she dreams of. Not one who charges into battle, but one who stands beside her quietly, offering strength without needing to be praised for it. So be that man, the one who guards not just her body, but her peace of mind. Because when she feels emotionally safe with you, she won't just open up, she'll stay. Segment 6. The charm of a beard, masculinity in form. Let's talk about something often overlooked, yet instantly felt. A beard. Yes, just facial hair to some. But when done right, it's much more than that. It's not just about grooming. It's not just style. It's symbolic. You see, a well-groomed beard speaks. It says something long before you open your mouth. Not because of the beard itself, but because of the man behind it. Let's be honest. In today's world, masculinity is often misunderstood, either exaggerated into aggression or softened into passivity. But the truth is, true masculinity doesn't shout. It doesn't need to. It shows up in form, in energy, in essence. And the beard, that's one of those quiet symbols, not of rebellion, not of dominance, but of maturity, discipline, presence, because anyone can grow facial hair. But not every man can carry it with intention. Not every man can groom it, own it, and let it represent who he's becoming. A beard, well kept, doesn't scream for attention, but it holds it. There's a reason women are drawn to it, when it's done right. It's not about the trend. It's not about looking rugged or cool. It's about what it signals beneath the surface. It signals patience, discipline, a man who takes care of what grows from him, who doesn't rush, who doesn't cut everything down just to appear clean or polished, a man who allows space for growth and has the presence to shape it. That is rare. Think about it. A beard creates a distinct masculine edge. It amplifies polarity, that invisible current between masculine and feminine. And in a healthy relationship, that polarity matters. It's what creates tension, the good kind, attraction, depth, energy. When a woman looks at you, she's not just seeing stubble. She's seeing how you carry your masculinity, how you honor it, how you stand in it, not as a performance, but as a quiet truth. Now, if you're thinking, isn't this all just superficial? Let's go deeper. Stoic philosophy reminds us, the things you wear or display should reflect the discipline you live by. Marcus Aurelius, paraphrased. That includes your beard. Is it intentional or lazy? Does it reflect a man who values himself or a man who's hiding? Because here's the Stoic truth. You are always signaling something with your eyes, your energy, your voice, and yes, even your beard. A well-groomed beard isn't about vanity. It's about alignment. It says, I respect myself enough to show up as a man who takes care of what's his. And you know what women crave? Not the beard, not the trend. They crave the energy behind it. The kind of man who stands firmly in who he is, who doesn't apologize for his strength, but also doesn't weaponize it. A man who can be gentle without being soft, firm without being harsh, strong without being loud. That's the kind of man a beard reminds her of. And when she sees that, she doesn't just notice, she feels it. So whether you wear a beard or not isn't the real point. The point is, what kind of presence are you growing? Are you becoming the kind of man who commands respect? Not by force, but by form. Are you building your character the way you would tend to your appearance? With care? With attention? With pride? Because the beard isn't the power. You are. The beard is just the echo. So if you choose to grow it with intention. Shape it with purpose. Let it reflect the quiet, calm strength that Stoicism teaches us. That real masculinity doesn't rush. It roots. It holds. It leads, without having to chase. Segment 7. Shared laughter. Emotional bonding beyond words. You know what's underrated in relationships? Laughter. Not the loud kind that fills a room. Not the kind you force to break the silence. But the real kind. The kind that happens in between moments. That soft, spontaneous laughter that says, I feel safe with you. I feel light around you. That is powerful. Because here's something most men don't realize. Genuine laughter, shared between two people, is one of the fastest ways to build emotional intimacy. It's not just fun, it's chemistry. Real, biological bonding. When you laugh together, your brain releases oxytocin, the same hormone tied to love, trust, and emotional safety. And what does that mean? It means that laughter, more than your words, more than your looks, more than your plans, creates emotional memory. She might forget what you said, but she'll remember how she felt when she laughed with you. Now, let's be clear. You don't have to be a comedian. You don't need a list of jokes. This isn't about being funny. It's about being present, being relaxed. Being willing to let go of your armor and just enjoy the moment. Because when you're lighthearted, she feels safe enough to let go too. There's a quote from Marcus Aurelius that says, "The art of living is more like wrestling than dancing." Life throws punches. There's stress, pressure, loss, chaos. But when two people can still laugh together in the middle of that, that's strength. That's resilience. That's a bond that lasts. Think about it. Some of your most cherished memories aren't grand. They're moments of laughter in a car ride. A shared joke in a grocery store. Laughing until you cry over something small and silly. That's where emotional connection is forged. Not in what's said, but in what's felt. And women? They remember that feeling. They crave a man who brings peace and lightness. Who can be strong, stoic, steady, but who also knows how to let go and smile with her. Because that smile says, I'm here with you, not above you, not behind you, with you. And here's the truth. A man who knows how to share laughter is a man who's done inner work. Because to laugh freely, you have to be present. To be present, you have to be grounded. To be grounded, you have to be whole. That's what Stoicism is really about. It's not about suppressing emotion. It's about mastering it, so you can live fully, not fearfully. So let me ask you, when was the last time you allowed yourself to be playful? To crack a joke, even a bad one? To be light in a world that feels heavy? Because that's what she's looking for. Not a clown. Not a showman. A man who doesn't take himself too seriously, because he takes life seriously enough to enjoy it. So here's your invitation. Next time you're with her, don't overthink the moment. Be present. Be light. Look for the moment that makes you both exhale. And when laughter comes, don't rush past it. Stay in it. Because that's where the connection deepens. That's where she bonds with you. Not as a protector, not as a provider, but as a partner, as a human. And that's unforgettable. Segment 8. A man with a dream. Purpose is magnetic. Let me ask you something. What's driving you right now? Not your to-do list, not your paycheck, not even your relationship status. I mean, deep down, what's pulling you forward? Because here's the truth. A man without direction may still move, but a man with vision, he creates gravity. Women are not drawn to men who just exist. They're drawn to men who are becoming. Men with purpose. Men on a mission. Men who live with quiet fire, not for validation, but for meaning. And no, It's not about being rich, famous, or wildly successful. It's about being clear about who you are, where you're going, and why you wake up in the morning with something to chase that's bigger than her. That might sound counterintuitive, right? Because the modern narrative says, make her your world. Show her she's everything. But here's what most men miss. When you make a woman your purpose, you put pressure where trust should live. And that's not attractive. That's unstable. A woman doesn't want to be your everything. She wants to walk beside a man who already knows who he is. She wants to feel your groundedness, not your dependency. She wants to feel inspired by your life, not responsible for it. There's a line I once heard. She follows, not physically, but emotionally. And it's true. When a woman senses your purpose, feels the steady pull of your direction, she doesn't need constant reassurance. She relaxes into the relationship because she sees you're not lost. She doesn't have to carry your identity. She doesn't have to build your confidence. She doesn't have to wonder, where is this going? Because your life is going somewhere. And that is magnetic. Think of the great Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca. These weren't just thinkers. They were men with telos, a deep inward sense of aim. And their relationships didn't make them whole. They shared from wholeness. So what does this look like today? Maybe you're building something, your business, your art, your discipline. Maybe you're writing a book, raising your kids with intention, serving a cause, healing yourself. Whatever it is, it's not just a hobby. It's a mission. Something that puts meaning into your moments. Something that speaks louder than charm, louder than looks, louder than smooth lines. Because when a woman sees a man chasing something real, she sees depth. She sees substance. And most importantly, she sees safety. Not the kind that comes from money or muscles, but the kind that says, I have direction. I know who I am when no one's watching. And I'm not looking for you to complete me. I'm inviting you to walk beside me. And if she chooses to walk with you, it's because she respects you, not because she pities you, not because she has to fix you, but because your life pulls her in, like gravity. So, if you've been wondering why surface-level attraction fades, or why chemistry alone doesn't build lasting connection, ask yourself, what's the bigger thing you're building? Because that's what creates polarity. That's what creates emotional safety. That's what makes her trust you enough to relax into your arms, not just your attention. Purpose doesn't make you less emotionally available. It makes you more emotionally secure. And emotional security? That's what every strong woman truly craves. Not just a man who's present in the moment, but a man who's anchored in his mission, even when the moment gets messy. So here's the takeaway. Stop asking her to validate your worth. Start building something that makes you worthy in your own eyes. Be the kind of man who lives with aim, with inner fire, with quiet conviction. And let your life speak for itself. Because when you walk with purpose, she'll feel it, long before you ever speak a word. Segment 9. Deep listening, the rare art of presence. In a world that's always talking, the man who knows how to listen becomes unforgettable. Not the kind of listening where you're waiting to speak, not the kind where you're nodding, but your mind's on your phone. I'm talking about deep listening. The kind of listening that makes someone feel like the only person in the room. The kind that says, I see you, I hear you. You matter to me right now. And here's the truth most men never hear. Women aren't just drawn to words. They're drawn to presence. Most men hear, Very few truly listen to understand. And that's why deep listening is so rare, so magnetic, so powerful. Because real listening is an act of self-mastery. It requires patience. It requires emotional control. It requires silence, not just in your mouth, but in your mind. You have to let go of the need to fix, to respond, to impress. You have to be there, fully, with her. It sounds simple, but in a noisy, distracted world, it's a superpower. Think about it. When was the last time you felt truly heard? Not just someone agreeing with you, not someone offering you advice, but someone who sat with your words. No judgment, no rush, just quiet understanding. That kind of listening creates emotional safety. It creates connection. It builds a bridge between two souls that no amount of charm or intelligence can replace. And when a woman feels that kind of attention from a man, something in her softens. She relaxes, she opens, because she knows this isn't a performance. This is presence. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." That's not just good advice. That's a philosophy for life. Deep listening requires more strength than speaking. Because when you listen deeply, you're not just hearing her words. You're tracking her energy. You're noticing tone, hesitation, pain, joy. You're reading between the lines. You're tuned in, not just to her voice, but to her soul. Let me give you an example. She tells you about a stressful day. She mentions in passing that she skipped lunch. Most men nod and move on. But the man who listened, he shows up the next day with her favorite snack. He doesn't say, "Remember when you said this?" He just does it. And that simple act, that moment of care, rooted in attention, that stays with her. Because women remember the little things. And the man who remembers what she says, when no one else would, becomes unforgettable. It's not about being perfect. It's not about being her therapist. It's about being present, being calm enough to hold space without trying to fix it. Because sometimes she's not looking for answers. She's looking for a place to breathe. And when your energy says, "You're safe here, I'm not judging, I'm just here," she will feel it. And that feeling, it's what creates trust. It's what builds polarity. It's what separates men who connect from men who merely talk. So if you want to stand out in a world full of noise, don't be louder. Be stiller. Don't try to say the right thing. Be the right presence. Because the rarest kind of power is silent. And the rarest kind of man is the one who listens. Not because he has nothing to say, but because he doesn't need to say it. So here's your invitation. The next time someone speaks to you, pause. Turn your full body, put the phone down, look her in the eye. And just listen. Not to reply, not to impress. Just to understand. Because in that moment, you give her something most people never will. Your undivided presence. And in return, she gives you her trust. That's the art of listening. That's the discipline of stillness. That's the man she never forgets. Segment 10. Spontaneity. Unpredictability that sparks desire. Let's talk about something subtle, but powerful. Something that doesn't show up in dating advice columns, but shows up in the energy between two people. Spontaneity, the ability to act in the moment, to be unpredictable but not chaotic. To keep life alive without losing control. Now let me be clear, this isn't about being reckless. It's not about living without structure. It's not about being flaky, impulsive, or emotionally unstable. True spontaneity is something deeper. It's the spark of presence. It's the courage to follow a moment, not a script. It's the kind of unpredictability that says, I trust myself enough to lead us into something new. And women? They feel this difference. Because here's the truth most men miss. Routine is safe, but too much of it kills desire. When everything is always predictable, the same conversations, the same moves, the same gestures, the same days, the same places, attraction fades. Not because you did something wrong, but because your energy lost its edge. And the feminine craves edge, not danger, not instability, but something that keeps her guessing, something that makes her lean in and ask, what's he going to do next? You see, mystery doesn't come from being distant. It comes from being present, but not fully revealed. It comes from a man who doesn't need everything to be planned, because he trusts himself to lead in any moment. Imagine this. You're both walking out of dinner. Instead of heading straight home, you say, come on, I want to show you something. No explanation. Just a quiet confidence. You drive 5 minutes, pull over, and bring her to a hill where the stars are clear. No big production. Just intention. Just a break from the expected. In that moment, she doesn't just admire the view. She admires you. Because you gave her an experience, not a routine. And experiences are what she remembers, not your resume. Not how well you followed the plan, but how deeply you led her into the unexpected. Stoic philosophy reminds us, don't demand that things happen as you wish. Wish them to happen as they do. Epictetus. In other words, flow with the moment. Let go of the script. Adapt. Respond. Create. Because spontaneity isn't randomness. It's freedom, guided by presence. It's discipline without rigidity. It's the man who can hold structure, but also break it when the moment asks for it. That's what makes you magnetic. Not because you're wild, but because you don't need everything to be known. You're comfortable in the unknown, and that energy, that's rare. Women don't want to be constantly surprised by chaos. They want to be lightly surprised by depth, by creativity, by your ability to create a moment where none existed before. Let me put it simply. Structure makes her feel safe. Spontaneity makes her feel alive. You need both. Be the man who brings calm and clarity, but also the spark of mystery, the playful what if, the unspoken let's go here instead. Because that blend of reliability and freedom is what creates chemistry that lasts. So here's the question. When's the last time you surprised her? Not with money, not with gifts, but with presence, with an idea, with a smile, with a moment that didn't need planning, just courage. You don't need a vacation, you just need to be awake, to see the beauty in the moment and act on it. That's what she craves. So don't be a man who lives by default. Be a man who creates moments, who changes direction, who keeps life in motion, not through chaos, but through intention. Because in a world of men who overplan, overthink, and underdeliver, the one who moves with purpose and play, that's the man she remembers. That's the man who sparks desire again, and again, and again. Let's be clear about something. What you just heard, these 10 traits women deeply crave, aren't tricks. They're not tactics. They're not part of some manipulative playbook. They're reflections, signals of a deeper truth, that real attraction begins within. Because the man who gently touches her before intimacy, the one who flirts with calm confidence, who leads her with presence, protects her without words, and listens like her soul matters. He's not performing. He's become something. He's done the work. He's grounded. He's focused. He doesn't chase validation because his values validate him. You see, there's a difference between trying to impress her and choosing to embody what she respects. The first is exhausting. The second is effortless. Because when you become the kind of man who moves through life with purpose, who can be playful but never performative, still but never stagnant, kind but never passive, she doesn't just notice you. She remembers you, and not just for a day, not just for a fling, but for a lifetime. Why? Because most men try to impress with noise, loud gestures, big energy, fast talk. But the men women crave. They lead with stillness, with calm, with quiet understanding. That's what separates the temporary from the timeless. And here's the truth. You don't have to become someone else. You have to return to the man you were born to be. One who is aware, present, discerning, driven not by approval but by purpose. You don't need to outshine other men. You need to outgrow your past self. Because the rarest kind of power is the man who doesn't need to prove it. So if you've ever wondered, why do some men seem to draw women in effortlessly? It's not magic. It's not luck. It's magnetism rooted in mastery. It's presence. It's depth. It's integrity. And yes, it's cultivated. It takes time. It takes reflection. It takes choosing silence over reaction, mission over impulse, discipline over chaos. But the reward? You become the man she trusts, the man she respects, the man she opens up to, not because you pushed, but because you pulled her in with who you are. So don't chase being unforgettable. Become the man who lives so fully aligned with truth, presence, and purpose that forgetting you becomes impossible. If this message spoke to something inside you, don't just watch, live it. And if you want more content like this, subscribe, stay grounded, and keep becoming the man only few ever choose to be.